joining me for episode 26 of My Doll's House Diary. Now, if you saw the last episode, you'll know that I wanted to have a go at printing onto fabric so I could replicate the wallpaper in the guest bedroom to use as bedding. Well, I couldn't wait to give it a go, so I've just got a really short video for you today to show you how I got on. So I'll start by showing you the photo fabric that I've bought, and this one is by Simplicity, well-known name in sewing circles, and it's called Crafters Images Photo Fabric, and the one that I've chosen is a 100% cotton poplin. Now in this Crafters Images range they also do a cotton canvas and a cotton twill. Now I'm not an expert on fabric, but from what I can gather it's all to do with how the fabric is actually woven. So a canvas is going to have a tighter weave and therefore be slightly thicker. And then the twill is woven not just across but diagonally as well, so that's going to be thicker still. Now I chose the poplin because I still want it to be quite pliable and I want it to drape, which obviously we want for bedding. But having looked at it, it does appear to be quite fine. So we'll have to see how we go with it. And we then might have to also give the canvas a trial. I think the twill will probably be too thick. The only other thing I was thinking that if it does turn out to be too thin, because we're making bedding, it would be quite easy to line the fabric. Okay, so let's open it and actually have a look at the sheets. So the pack consists of 5 A4 sheets, and it's basically then the cotton poplin backed onto a piece of paper that will feed through your inkjet printer. And if I just peel up a little corner there, if I can, you can see that is quite fine, and you can probably see my finger through it there. So let's have a quick look at the instructions. So open an image using any computer application, and I'll be using Adobe Photoshop. Place in a single sheet of photo fabric, and then it talks about which way around your computer prints, and I'm not sure, so we'll do a quick test before we put the fabric in. Set parameters for normal resolution and plain paper to save ink. Okay. When the fabric emerges from the printer, allow it to dry completely. Peel the paper back in, rinse for 30 seconds. That worries me already, but we'll give it a go. So we're rinsing it off under running tap water until the water runs clear, and then place wet fabric on a towel to dry, or blot with a towel. If necessary, iron out wrinkles. Okay, so that's all pretty straightforward. So this is the wallpaper that I actually want to print onto the fabric. You may remember it from my last Doll's House Diary episode. And these two pieces are actually all I have left. Now if I had have thought about it beforehand, I would have actually scanned them in before I cut into it. So that's something to think about if you're thinking about using your wallpaper to make fabric. Then just scan that in before you start papering your walls. But as I'm using Adobe Photoshop, I should be able to scan that in and then make a full sheet from it. So let's go and do that now. Okay, so I'll just pop that into the scanner. Okay, so I've already done a preview of that, so I'm just going to scan that in. Just takes a minute or so. And I've just left the output size there as flexible. I was trying to be clever and I set it to A4, but then obviously the pattern was too large. Okay, so there it is. So I now want to transfer that onto an A4 sized sheet. So I'm going to open up a new file. And I've actually already set that to the A4 size, 21 by 29 centimetres, and with a resolution of 300 pixels per inch, so that we get a really good quality print. I want to press OK on there. And then I want to drag my first image onto that A4 sheet. Move that up to the top like that. And then I obviously want to fill this section here, so I'm going to drag it over again. And now I need to line it up. So this is where you need to find the pattern. What I'll do is I'll get it roughly lined up, and then we'll zoom in and make sure we're in exactly the right place. So let me just get the magnifying tool, go back onto the little arrow. Okay, so let's, what have we got, that little vine leaf at the top there I'm concentrating on. Does that look right? It's quite a busy pattern, so it's quite difficult to... Right, so I'm actually going to use the arrow tools on the keyboard, which allow you to move a little bit at a time. That looks about right to me. I'm just going to zoom in on one of those vine leaves. Now this might look a little bit pixely. Let's have a look. I've just got to go back to the arrow. There, so can you see the first piece of paper coming out underneath there? So I'm trying to line up those two little vine leaves by placing them over the top there. And then I think I need to just come down a touch. So that looks pretty good to me. These sort of little fronds all go into one. The vine leaves look fine, the feathers. So I'll make that full size again. And then I've just got this little slice along the bottom here that I need to fill. So I'm going to drag my image in again. And then I'll move it down. And again, I'm going to try and, oh, it's because I'm going off the screen there. So I'll put it down there, I'm going to get it lined up, and then we can send it to the back. So we're tucking it behind those two. So let me zoom in on that corner again. Back to the little arrow. This is when my eyes just start going all boggled because I can't think what I'm meant to be doing now. Okay, so we're getting those two little vine leaves there, overlapping those two. Like that. So let's use the arrows on the keyboard. How does that look? Does that look right? I'm just sort of trying to look at everything to see if it's all... See, these little fronds are all sort of going into together nicely. You can still see the line of the new sheet there. That looks okay to me. So then what I'm going to do is go to Layer and Arrange and Send to Back. So that little corner I've just put in will now be tucking behind those first two images. So Send to Back, and then I shouldn't have any lines there at all. So let's make that full size again. Okay, all looks pretty good to me. So I'll close that first image, no longer need that. And then I want to do a test print. So File, Print. It's telling me some clipping will occur, so it's obviously just going outside the borders of the A4 sheet, so that's fine, so proceed. And then I only want to do a really low quality print, so I'm going to set that to low. Go into Setup and Properties, and then Grayscale Printing, so it will just use my black ink and not my colour. Okay, okay. That should now come out, and then we can actually check the size, check that it all looks okay. That's because I've just put a new ink cartridge in. Because I knew I was going to be doing this, I purposely ran down my colour ink by printing off a load of flyers, because I didn't want the colour ink running out halfway through this and wasting one of my cotton sheets. And you may also notice that I'm using a new computer program to actually record the screen. So I've no longer got my camera set up in front of the screen, so we've got no glare. Okay, here we go, here it comes. Now that looks pretty good to me, and what I want to do is just go and lay that next to the actual wallpaper and see how that looks size-wise. Okay, I've actually got that one upside down, but that looks pretty good to me. Really good size. Okay, so we can now print that onto our fabric. Now before I put my fabric in, I just want to do another little test, and I want to check which side it actually prints on. So I'm just going to do a little cross in the corner of a sheet of paper there, and then I'll print something off. Do you like that? Okay, so my little cross then is on the back of that sheet. So I need to put the fabric into the printer, fabric side down. So that's always a good little test to do if you're not sure which way around your printer feeds the paper. So it obviously sort of goes in like that and then comes out back on itself. Okay, so I'm popping that in there, fabric side down. This printer can sometimes be a little temperamental, so I don't want to push it in too far there. I'm leaving some paper in there because, again, if you haven't got much paper in there, it also tends not to like it. So it starts doing some funny sort of chuntering noises and things, and then just ends up mashing up the paper inside. So I'm leaving that in there and hope that will work. There are a few little bits of cotton hanging off the edges of this, so I've just trimmed those off. Notice a little bit there, but that's on the end, so that should be okay. And this time I want to print on a good quality setting. Now it did say, let me just read the packet again. What did it say about normal resolution? So we'll just go for the medium then, which it's already set on. And it doesn't always automatically revert back to normal printing when you've hit grayscale, so always remember to go in and do that. It's just because you don't want to waste any of your cotton, as it is actually fairly expensive. Right, I'm just pausing before I hit OK, make sure everything's right. So that was right, wasn't it? Fabric side down in there. Yep, just double check that. Okay, here we go. Please don't jam, please don't jam. Oh, here it comes. So far so good. I actually feel really nervous, isn't it silly? I just don't want to waste this cotton. Okay, so it does say about leaving it to dry, so I'm not going to touch it probably for about a minute or so, let it dry off. I don't want to go putting a big fingerprint on it or anything. So there's my second sheet of fabric. And actually on the packet it just says when the printed fabric emerges from the printer, allow it to dry completely. But it doesn't actually say how long for. So I had a quick look on Google and it just says 15 minutes, and that's not for this particular brand of paper. That was just a comment from somebody on Google, but I'm not in a hurry, so I think I'll just leave it drying for a few hours and come back to this afternoon. And then we'll try rinsing it under running water which is actually making me feel really nervous because I'm thinking, well, what if it all just runs? But that's what they're advising to do, so we'll give it a go, but I'll just try one sheet at a time, and then if it ruins it, we won't do it with the other sheet, but I'm sure it will be fine. But yeah, so far so good. I'm quite impressed with that. Okay, so I actually got stuck into another project yesterday afternoon, so this has now been drying for 24 hours. So I'm now going to peel it from the back in, and then we'll go and run it under the tap as they suggest. Okay, so you can get a better idea now that it's off the backing, of how sort of thin it is. But it won't be until we come to actually start sewing with it that we'll know if it's good enough quality for, you know, doll's house furniture projects and upholstery and things like that. I'm sure it is. It may just be that we are going to have to line it with some white fabric, but making bedding, that will be easy enough to do. We'll just use another layer of fabric for each side of the undersheet and the fitted sheet. I wanted to do a couple of pillows with that as well. Okay, so let's go and run it under the tap and see what happens. So again, it didn't say whether to use hot or cold running water, it just said running water. We actually had the hot water on last night, so the hot is really hot at the moment, so I'm going to use the cold. I'm just running that under there. I don't want to sort of scrunch it up. And then I've got a towel ready on the side to actually put this on. Doesn't seem to be running or anything, so all looks okay. Okay, let's put this on the towel on the side. Just let that drip off. I don't want to wring it out. I want to put loads of creases in it. Just put that on there like that, and then leave that to dry. And as that seems to have held its colour, I'll go and get the other one and do the same. Okay, so that's just a question now of leaving those to dry. And as it's a lovely hot day here today, we're set to reach our highest ever temperature here in the UK, so we'll see if that happens. I'm sure it won't take long for those to dry out. And I'm really looking forward to making the bed for the guest bedroom. I'm going to do something slightly different, so going to do a more modern looking bed with a button back headboard. And we won't have a footboard, so we'll just have a lovely crochet throw draped over the end. But that will be coming soon. And for today, that's about it. I really hope that you've enjoyed this video and that you found it useful. The next video coming up will be a tutorial for the double bed, and then we'll get a better idea of the quality of the fabric. Okay, that's it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye!